Thank you for joining us on the Boxing Day edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Kolawole, Merry Christmas to you.
Very same to you.
Happy Boxing Day to you.
No, I'm not a fighter.
You join us once in a while.
Thank you.
How did your Christmas go?
Well, it was great. Okay. And a friend made it so good.
Oh, a friend made it so good.
Honestly.
Babajide, how did you end up yesterday when we left the studio?
I got home very late, so I just went to bed straight. You know how the traffic is here.
Even on Christmas Day?
So on Christmas Day, I didn't get to really mingle with my kids and my wife. So I'll probably do that tomorrow.
Okay. But we're still in the Yosa season.
Yes, this is the holiday season.
So holiday season can still bond.
They will still have their day in the sun.
Okay. Today on the program, President Buhari hosted residents of Abuja, expresses hope that history will be kind to him at the end of his term. Armed forces restore peace in Benue, Nasarawa and Taraba states, earlier troubled by killer herdsmen. And later on the show, big concern persists over endless delay in Nigeria's television digital switchover. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade-Otitoju and Kolawole Johnson. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Joining us again, this is the Boxing Day on the 26th of December 2019. We're counting down to 2020. The Yuletide is not just a season for festivity, it's also a period for stock taking. So when President Muhammadu Buhari hosted residents of Abuja, led by the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Malam Muhammad Bolo, he performed both tasks. President Buhari, who feted his guests as part of the traditional Christmas Day homage to the State House, Abuja, took stock of his administration and promised to continue to rebuild the country. The president says he hopes history will be kind to him at the end of his tenure. When I saw this yesterday, Babajide, and I looked at the president that searched his conscience and he feels that he's on course and he feels is on the path of changing Nigeria and improving the lives of Nigerians. But that might not necessarily mean what is on ground. His best might not be enough for the country called Nigerians. But the president has said, look, I hope history will judge me well.
Well, as you know, history is never subjective when it comes to judging players on the national scene. History is never subjective. History will be kind to you when you truly serve the people, when you do what is right. So our advice to the president is that it is what is right that lasts all seasons. If you do what is right, many years down the line, when people come around, when generations will appreciate what you have done. True heroes of nation building are never forgotten. They give themselves immortality. Because when you truly work for the people, you remain in their hearts. You remain in their hearts permanently. So the president must realize that, and when you do certain things that are not good, the people will not be happy with you.
Or when people in
and when the people are not happy with you, then there's no way that history will judge you positively, because you cannot rig the judgment of history. You can't rig the judgment of history. Your conduct, your performance must be top-notch for history to judge you positively. You have nothing to do with that. You cannot determine how history judges you. You can't, not that you can't determine, you cannot influence how you are judged. It is your performance, your positive performance, that would determine whether you will be judged the right way, positively, by history. So the president has his work cut out for him. He cannot do anything that suggests that is undermining the rule of law and expects to be judged positively by history. No, you won't be judged positively. On that score, you will be judged harshly. So the president must do what is right, what will last many seasons. He has talked about infrastructure. There's no doubt that infrastructure development lasts for so long, and because of that, you are going to be judged positively. No matter what people say about the first generation of leaders that we have in Nigeria, the Sardaunas of this world, the Awolowos of this world, the Amino Kanos of this world, the Audu Bakos of this world. When you go to Kano, you see the imprimatur of Audu Bako in Kano. The dams that he constructed, the solid roads that he constructed in the Nasarawa area. Kano, in the Nasarawa area, you see clearly a city well designed, well planned. The roads link one another effectively. That's the work of a certain man called Audu Bako in Kano. That first generation of Nigerian leaders, those leaders did extremely well. There's nowhere you talk. No, we've never had leaders that have been able to match them. No one. No one. In northern Nigeria, we've not had any leader with the foresight, with the quick thinking, and the inventiveness and solid performance of Anamadu Bello, Sardauna of Sokoto. In the southwest, we've not had any leader close to Awolowo. In fact, a lot of people take him like deity. That's the sort of thing that Buhari has to do. He has to work for the Nigerian people, not work for some selfish individuals in his administration. He has to work for Nigerian people. That way he will live in their hearts. Once you live in their hearts, honestly, that you can be certain that posterity will judge you positively.
Kolawole, from the president's estimation, the president might be looking at, to the best of my knowledge, I've served in Nigeria, but members of his kitchen cabinet, the people that are more active in day-to-day running of this government than Mr. President, have done some disservice, might have done some disservice to whatever Mr. President is thinking is conscience. So a lot of people will tell you that, look, Mr. President might not be 100% in the know of everything that's happening to the day-to-day, but the buck stops on his table.
You know, it is possible to be sincere on the part of error. Very possible. However, there is a popular statement I have. It's very simple. Wherever you are, you won't be there forever. If you are in a place today, when tomorrow comes and you're no more there, today would have been gone forever. But whatsoever you do there remains. They don't go like that. And a lot of times what you do yesterday, when today comes or tomorrow comes, what you do would either speak for you or speak against you. So Mr. President, I think, knows this equally. That is why he said that he hopes that history will be kind to him. And before now, the kind history, of course, some part of his kind history actually worked for him to come back to power. And in those days, 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari was seen as the Messiah coming to save Nigeria. And it was not because he came from the blues and they just thought he's a Messiah. They looked at his antecedent, what he has done before. And they said, oh, by your antecedent, we believe this is what you would be. His posture to corruption, the integrity nature that he was known for, you know, a very strong security person that can put an end to wars in our borders and, you know, on our land. So, sitting down in government, different from the time he was there. He was a military person then, but now a civilian person, having several persons working for you, especially when he said that he did not actually know the people he brought in to work with him in his first term. Of course, we have sat down here to say that there are a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors. However, he has a time to rewrite history to ensure that history is kind to him truly. And you must know that history is not in vacuum. It's, you know, something, it is written with stylus of diamond or something else. So in this case, Mr. President would have to do, like he said, specific things that will transcend this period, this season. Things that will put his name in gold, so that when tomorrow comes, he will be remembered for good. And they are not far-fetched. Nigerians don't want so much. In those days, are you aware that in Southwest, until recently, people will want to campaign for election some few years ago, and they'll be mentioning the name of Awolowo. So much that if you want to win election, you need to chant the name. You need to bring the name forward. You need to compare yourself to him. You need to, start saying something about the man. It was because of what he did in those years. And those things can still be seen in roads, in education, and a lot of industries like that. Even in industrialization of the Southwest. We didn't get those forced, by flukes. No, they came because of hard work, planning. So I think it is not for us to blame Mr. President as such. It is to tell him that the time is still there to write your name in history with gold. And when tomorrow comes, history will be kind to you.
When tomorrow comes, history will be kind to Mr. President in terms of what he has been doing in infrastructure. I look at his drive towards the Nigerian Railway Corporation, towards building the rails, and I see the way Amechi is day and night. He visits all this infrastructure to leave a legacy. CKN was actually going to the east today. He actually confirmed that, yes, he can see the pillars of the Niger Bridge. That is no longer the second Niger Bridge. Now, in terms of infrastructure, despite the fact the paucity of funds, seems Mr. President is poised to write his name in gold.
No doubt about it. He identified that early. I always talk about the first interview that TVC had with the president after he was elected in 2015 in his hometown of Katsina. He said he was going to focus on rail transport because of his capacity to move much more commuters than other means of transportation. You can't compare rail to air transport, for example. You can't compare it to road transport because you can move far more people with through the railways. And you see, by doing that, it's also reviving a dead transport sector. We didn't do anything tangible because railways is something that the colonialists bequeathed to us. But since 1960, when we under our independence, we had not done anything significant to add to what these people gave to us. In the past, petroleum products were moved by rail. I witnessed it. You will see so many coaches to the point that if you were unlucky in some cases, if you were unlucky when the train is crossing the road to the other side, you could be there for 30 minutes because you see endless coaches. NNPC, they are
moving their products.
They are moving the product. You can imagine. Let me describe a scenario. This is our office. You can imagine the train, the head of the train, here in Ketu, and the last coach is actually in Apapa. You can imagine how long it is.
Very long.
Yes. So this was what we were doing before. Now the president has gone back to it. Good Lord Jonathan did something for which I will always praise him. I'm not one person who does not see anything good in the man. There are some people like that, but we leave them to their God. The Kaduna Abuja rail service.
Yeah.
He had done 95%. In fact, it had been commissioned by the then Vice President Namadina Sambo. Even in his speech on the day that the federal government officially now opened it, Rotimi Amechi said it that 95% work had been done. We just needed to buy some coaches to add to it. The work had been finished. The good thing that the president has done is that such infrastructure he did not abandon.
Yeah.
He continued.
Continued with it.
Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, yes, we stopped it for some time, but we can see now that
The thing is moving.
it is moving. The president has sustained the work on
Day
it,
and night.
and by 2020, he has told them that they must finish it.
Let's commission it.
The second Niger bridge, you can see the same energy.
Pillars
The
springing
same
up.
energy. Fashola clearly has been told, this is a project that I
Priority.
want. Whether people of the East like me or they don't like me, I will deliver this project to them. That is how the president
Lasting
is thinking.
legacy.
I will whether they vote for me or they don't vote for me, because it's not likely whether if he campaigns from now till Kingdom Come, he's not likely to get the votes
From
from
the
the
East.
Southeast. But he's the president for everybody.
To get the majority vote.
He will not get the significant votes from there. He will not be elected from there. He knows, you know what I'm talking about. You know, substantial votes, votes that make a difference, they will never give him. But he's the president of everyone, so that project he wants to deliver. You know, he won't say, I will punish you because you refuse to vote for me. No serious president should do that. So this is what we want him to continue. And then you look at the power sector. The power sector is literally dead. There is a PricewaterhouseCoopers survey that showed that only 40% of Nigerians enjoy light. I think that's even exaggerated. We have the potential to generate 12,555 megawatts, but we are struggling to generate even 4,000. There are days that we do just 3,000 plus. There are days that we even do just 2,000.
In fact, there are days it comes down.
And now, what's it called? System failures are even rampant now.
Is my caller still there?
So that is the thing.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, Kolawole. Now, still talking about legacy here. While Mr. President, I see him talking to APC governors, telling them that go and deliver on your campaign manifesto what you promised the people. While he's saying, how do you governors sleep without paying your workers' salary? While he's trying at any turn that the governor will need to, the president will need to sympathize with the masses and the common masses in Nigeria. Mr. President is always doing that. And all the bailouts he has been giving and everything, it shows that he's a pro-masses person. But on the contrary, when you talk to an average Nigerian on the streets, he's saying that you can feel poverty right now. This is the Yuletide period is not the way it used to be. And they will tell you that things are very, very hard and bad right now. So talking about legacy, this is a big contradiction. While we have a president that detests poverty, that doesn't want his people to suffer, but people are actually suffering.
I'd like to comment maybe very briefly on that. I don't want to stretch it so much. At first, some few years back, I thought I sat maybe on this program too, where I said that the way people started reacting to riches as though it was a bad thing to be rich in Nigeria. Poverty at that time was becoming like, oh, it's a noble thing. Every single person that has some means, of course, they look out, these guys have stolen Nigeria dry. That was what we had at the beginning of the administration. I'm not saying that actually translated into what you have today. But that sense of urgency on the part of the government to deliver the people from poverty, we didn't give it to them by the perception that we created. And of course, the government came out with programs to ensure that poverty, is kicked out of the land. And we have said it over and again that implementation matters. When you do your needs assessment, you must have put in place where you will be the first year, the second year, the third year. We don't have to, like our budget performance process, you don't wait till the end of the year before you look at the performance. Every single month, every single quarter, we can have a work plan for budget implementation. If you have your work plan, you know who is in charge of A, who is in charge of B, the duration, the delivery period for each project, where they should be, when we should move from point A to B. And if there are lapses in terms of funding, you know where to go to. In the same vein, we have said that when there are programs that are targeted towards poverty alleviation, we should endeavor to be transparent about it. Right on this program, I called out the vice president that the
Social investment
program that we should make it open. If you are mentioning some hundreds of thousands of people that had access to this or that are enjoying this, Let us know them. I gave example that in my state. I mean, if you have the list of those who are enjoying it in your state, in my state, it is easier for us to know if this is real or not. It was becoming something like you can't feel, you can't touch. In the same way, we also said that other programs that are targeted towards encouraging entrepreneurship, that we should make it open. People should be able to access it. See, poverty is not what you kick out like that. There are processes, there are plans. It takes time. And remember that whatsoever you say today did not start today. It takes a process. But taking us out will also require equal energy. So for me, I think I wouldn't mind if we create specific ministry for poverty alleviation. That may not be too necessary, but when you look at the process, because you need to annex what you have in, say, maybe agriculture, for example, in the ministry, targeted towards this area. What you have in microfinance in different sectors. If you have a ministry or a place where this can be driven well, maybe this would be good.
Your thoughts on this same question about reality on ground, poverty being on ground. This government did not create poverty. It has always been there. But right now, people are saying that we don't have food on our table.
Yeah, one of the things that it needs to do is to solve the energy problem. I was talking about that before the ill-fated call came in. You see, when you provide electricity, you have effectively slashed 40% of the cost of business. And what we are saying is that more than 40% of our people are not enjoying electricity. These artisans, they need to be reflected in inverted commas. They need to be encouraged. Because, look, not all of us can start big businesses. But those small businesses, they need to be reinvigorated. And they need power supply. You can imagine someone who is into barbing. People who run beauty parlors and all that.
Can do without that
What
generator.
is their margin? Because the more they buy fuel to fuel their generators and all that, the more it eats into their margin at the end of the day. So electricity is crucial. We need to provide it. Once we do that, even the potential, the economic potential of Nigeria will really explode. Once we are able to provide that, and that's why I'm saying that is one of the things, the legacies that the president must leave behind. If he can solve that problem and the security problem that is really big now, if he can help us solve it, make Borno State safe, because Borno State is largely unsafe. You go to Borno Central, only one local government is largely accessible.
Okay.
You know, so we have to do something about that.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ayo.
Yes, Hassan.
Yes, Ayo, I'm on.
Okay, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Thank you very much for having me. Good to be involved in today's program.
Yeah.
Good evening, Ayo Dele. Good evening, Kolawole and Babajide. Yes, I've heard all you have said about infrastructure and the legacies Baba is leaving behind. Of course, infrastructure is a priority to every president that has served for 8 years, especially the power projects. But most importantly, over time, I'm young in the politics and I'm young by age, but I understand that lack of trust and betrayal causes a lot of problems. It was one of the problems that made PDP crumble. When Jonathan refused to rationalize the power sharing, exactly what I'm saying is the partnership between the North and the Southwest in the APC should be sustained by Baba, and it is only him that can sustain that. Some crooks and miscreants, especially most of them are from the PDP, are coming in to say the power is still going to be in the North in 2023. I want us to be very careful on that. This was the same problem that destroyed the PDP in 2015. It was one of the major problems. We should be very careful with that. The partnership between the North and the Southwest is a fantastic partnership. You know why? Because it's uniting the country already. The South-South literally own the PDP. But as it stands today, it's 50-50. 50% of the biggest politicians in the South-South are now in the APC. Why? Because they believe in the movement of this government and the party itself. and they see hope with the way dealings are happening in the party. Another thing, if we are able to sustain this partnership and expand it with the Southwest, South-South, and the Southeast will also key in 2023, and you see it. Once we build that trust, we the young politicians in the North, we want Baba to sustain this partnership so that we will be trusted in the future. If he dares allow those predators coming into him, those crooks coming close to him, saying power should remain in the North, I am telling you, our future will be destroyed. It is the turn of the Southwest. I always want to say it bluntly. It is the turn of the Southwest.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Hassan. This is really... Hassan is sounding like somebody from the North.
Yes, it's a northern.
Very strong in terms of leaving a legacy of trust.
Yes.
Honestly, maybe very, very strong.
I can see where it's going.
Yeah, we may not need to flog it that much. On the part that he mentioned, I remember that some times ago, we splitted this to Naira and Kobo, and I explained in details the effect of having to build power generation into businesses in Nigeria. For example, the barbing salon that he mentioned, if you're starting a barbing salon, what you need normally is the mirror. It costs, very little. Your clipper, very little. But the cost of generator itself is more than virtually every other cost you need.
Babajide, just you want to react a little to what Hassan just said, so we'll finish.
No, I think that trust is important because once the North and the South can trust one another, our country will become more united. Because I look forward to a time when we can go back to the Nigeria of 1993, when nobody cared about the fact that the two candidates were Muslim. I look forward to the time of Gawan, when nobody cared about the fact that the number one man and the number two person were Christian.
Go One Nation.
Yeah, Gawan and Way were Christians, and nobody bothered. And Gawan ruled for many years. So, but here we are now, where people will complain, no, he's a Christian, no, we don't want him, he's a Muslim, this and that. No, that's the point, that's the message that this guy yes. So, and the president, if the president actually
wants to leave
a legacy, he knows that, look, the Southwest pushed his candidacy, energized his candidacy. I'm not talking in terms of numbers now, but in terms of the way they helped to build him up, they helped to give him a new personnel, a new identity, that will be acceptable to people outside of the traditional far north. The president knows what to do. That's the point that he's making. But finally, from my end, the president has to give us elections that we can be proud of. Because that is what can deepen democracy. We don't want people using guns and helicopters to chase people away on election day. He has to give us elections that we can truly beat our chest about in this continent. It's something that puts me to shame as a Nigerian. And I don't want Buhari to leave office and that problem remains or even gets worse. So there are many ways by which we can assess it. Maybe on another day, we'll be able to look at all the sectors, yes.
All right, still to come. Armed forces restore peace in Benue, Nasarawa and Taraba states, earlier troubled by killer herdsmen. We'll be right back after this breather. Please stay with us. Thank you for joining us and happy Boxing Day. This is your multi-award-winning program, Journalist Anger. We're reaching you live from our headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. Eternal vigilance is not only the price for liberty, it is also required for peace. The vigilance of the Nigerian military in states ravaged by incessant clashes between farmers and herdsmen has paid off. The Defense Headquarters has declared that communities which suffered crisis in Benue, Nasarawa and Taraba states are now peaceful and safe for habitation. The Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Oyema Nwachukwu, who was in Benue and Taraba states to assess the situation, said Operation Wildstroke has brought peace to the affected communities. Let's share the story with you.
In the wake of farmers' herders' crisis, communal clashes, banditry, kidnapping, and other emerging criminal activities, the federal government deployed Operation Wild Stroke to bring back order to affected areas. This visit by the Director of Defense Information is to assess the impact the operation has made. The commander of Operation Wild Stroke, Major General Adeyemi Yekini, conducts him around the areas they cover. Community leaders in areas like Bishe in Katsina-Ala, Tukum, Wakari local government areas of Taraba State attest to the return of normalcy.
We want to say that much of what was being heard about has been calmed, and we're very, very happy to express our appreciation to the federal government.
They were here in Gashimila, where the road was barricaded by the armed robbers and kidnappers. They did wonders in that place. We have sent it before the crisis, which started in Kente, flows to Takum local government.
Major General Adeyemi Yekini explains that the crisis was brought down under control through improved security and diplomacy.
Our first task coming deploying here is to liberate BC, in particular, and Katsina local government as a whole. Our intelligence sources suggest that this crisis was, I'm using words now, being fueled by Ghana and its criminal gang.
The spokesman, Defense Headquarters, affirms that harmony would be sustained as there will be a drawdown of the operation.
The mission fundamentally is to restore peace, safety and security in Benue, Taraba and Nasarawa states, these contiguous states. And to a very large extent, that mission has been achieved. There's going to be a drawdown, and that drawdown is not immediate, it's going to be phased.
More than 50 deadly criminals were arrested and sophisticated weapons recovered by the Operation Wild Stroke during its operations.
Sharing news for the Yuletide there. Today, this is good news. For months, Benue State was under siege, Taraba State was under siege, and Nasarawa State. But we thank God and we thank men of the Nigerian military, for this gallant work.
We thank the president because the president deployed the soldiers to Benue. I said it at that time that the Mi-35 does not believe in ethnicity. The Mi-35, the ground attack helicopter of the Nigerian Air Force, delivers justice to criminals in its own best way. And that's what, look, the moment they decided on killer herdsmen in Benue, it stopped. All this talk that, it is when election is coming, it is when politics that people come to, that we hear of killings. It's all rubbish. They identified where these guys were, and they took them out. The Defense Intelligence Agency was also involved. You know, they were killing policemen, killing people, chasing farmers away from their farms. But the Air Force and the Army, they remained there. And I remember the Chief of Air Staff went to that place and said, we will not leave until we restore peace to these areas. Now, peace has been restored. In fact, just when the president went to Benue to campaign, the Benue state governor, who had been known to be criticizing the president over the inability to solve that problem, praised the president. He thanked the president for the fact that peace had been restored. His own local government was always attacked. Guma and Logo, the two most fertile local governments in Nigeria, were constantly attacked by these killer herdsmen. Remember the case of those pastors that were slaughtered, right in the premises of the church. All that has ended. And through Nasarawa, they used to come in through Nasarawa, the head of the killer herdsmen, one Alhaji Lagi, was arrested by Abba Kyari's IRT between February 16 and 19, 2018. So all of these things put together helped us to achieve the peace that we now have in Nasarawa, because we know they are contiguous. He was actually arrested inside Tunga Forest in Nasarawa State. So as the leader, and he confessed to killing policemen, to killing people in Benue. So once we solve that problem, then the Taraba too those killings occasioned by conflict between herdsmen and farmers also stopped. So we are grateful. At least our people have peace now in those areas.
This is a giant stride.
Honestly, it is. And I'm very sure that the people are not taking it for granted. I mean, if you compare what you have then, you will know that this is a very big stride. I remember in 2017, October 30th, when a group maybe searched for common ground or so, they organized a forum on the attack in those days. And General Abdusalam said that in 2016 alone, he said over 62,000 persons were displaced. You know, breadwinners became beggars of bread in their own state. In those days too, he said about $13.7 billion were lost. Was lost to the conflict. And thousands of people killed. 53 villages razed down completely. So if you look at that figure and you look at what the 2015 figure that was also very scary, you will know that what you have now, in fact, the Benue State governor is even protesting now and is clamoring against the exit of the military guys from his state. That shows that this is a giant stride, and I think we should commend the government for that.
All right, finally now, moving forward now, the launch in 1959 in Ibadan of the first television station in Africa gave Nigeria an enviable position in broadcasting on the continent, but achieving a switchover from the terrestrial to digital television broadcasting has become an albatross for the country, since the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, sets a 2015 deadline for member countries to transit to digital television. Nigeria had failed 3 targets in 2012, 2015, and 2017. Now, there is a big concern over the endless delay in the digital switchover program in the country. We have a story for you on this.
In the annals of television broadcasting in Africa, Nigeria occupies an enviable place. In 1959, the continent's first television station was born in the ancient city of Ibadan, the largest city in West Africa, located in today's Oyo State. It was dubbed Western Nigerian Television, WNTV. Indeed, television came to Nigeria ahead of some countries in Europe and America. Naturally, it was thought that when it comes to digital switchover, Nigeria will again be at the forefront on the African continent. But that has not been the case. Digital switchover is a process which converts analog television broadcasting to digital television. The ITU had set 2015 as deadline for transition to digital broadcast in ultra high frequency and 2020 for very high frequency all over the world.
You have to realize that Nigeria, like any other African country, has no option but to go digital. If we don't, of course there will be consequences, because our neighboring countries who do eventually switch over may have an edge over us if we have any interference in signal.
Digital content and analog receiver are not compatible. So you need an in-between so that the digital signal received by your antenna can be received on your television set, because we cannot ask everybody to change their television set from analog to digital. That box is an issue. It costs money all over the world. Like even in America, there will be subsidy from government to the people to enable them have the set-top box.
Nigeria has set 3 targets for itself in 2012, 2015, and 2017, but failed to meet any of the targets as well as the opportunities for wealth creation. By July 2014, Pinnacle Communications was named the preferred bidder after competing against 9 other companies. Integrated Television Services Company Limited, owned by Nigeria Television Authority (NTA), became the default signal distributor.
The generally global practice is that DSO cannot be complete in a nation if you do not cover up to 75% to 80% of the TV landscape.
Pinnacle is working with ITS, the other signal distributor. They have now formed a purpose vehicle, which is free TV platforms, to take things further for us.
By September 2014, Pinnacle had paid 618 million naira as license fee to the NBC. But after receiving the license, Pinnacle Communications officials discovered to their disappointment that the NBC had taken out some of the revenue-generating components and allowed other operators to self-carry. The signal carrier had no choice but to go to court. But about 1.5 years later, the NBC and the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, prevailed on Pinnacle Communications to come back to the fold and take his position as a signal distributor. It was mandated to deliver the Abuja switchover transmission center within 3 months. Pinnacle did.
The significance of this event cannot be lost on the world as the digital switchover becomes reality in the capital city of Africa's largest economy and its most populous nation.
Kaduna Center was delivered in December 2017.
That we're here today is largely due to the dynamism of one uncommon patriot, the chairman of Pinnacle Communication.
I visited the Abuja Transmission Center of Pinnacle Communications, located in Pape, Abuja. It was a most revealing trip. It was an opportunity to see for myself the equipment on ground at this facility that has not failed to transmit since 2016.
National, regional signals, combines it with local signals in order to produce the pipe, what we call the pipe, that will go to the 2 transmitters for broadcast.
Just when it seemed the digital switchover was on an irreversible upward climb, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, on the 15th of April 2019, posted a press statement on its website announcing the trial of the DG of the NBC and 2 principal officials of Pinnacle Communications. It is a 12-count charge bordering on abuse of office, money laundering, and misleading a public officer with the intent to defraud the federal government. Many Nigerians want a quick resolution of the lingering impasse so that the country can join countries like Kenya, Malawi, Namibia, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zimbabwe that have completed the digital switchover rollout.
The federal government should be commended for what it has done so far. They have laid the architecture. The next thing for us is to switch over.
It is projected that the digital switchover will generate 50,000 direct jobs, 500,000 indirect jobs, and lead to the establishment of 200 new television channels that will be available for free to the viewing public.
A single transmitter that actually being used by the analog era will be able to carry more than 40 channels as it is.
If and when Nigeria completes the DSO rollout, it will become the largest digital TV market in Africa. Nigerians simply can't wait for that day to come.
Okay, as we're transmitting Journalist Hangout now, we're transmitting to our digital audience and our terrestrial audience. Now, to break the long story short, is that once you have a transmitter that transmits and to your analog aerial, the one you are getting right now, in our terrestrial audience across Lagos, those of you who are watching us without a box, that we're still in the analog age. But for those of you that are watching us up north, you have a box at home, you have a switchover box at home, you're watching on a digital platform. So what we are trying to say is that Nigeria, it is desired that we switch over generally, that everybody will have this box at home and we stop this analog era. Babajide?
Yes, and I am particularly interested in having this whole confusion come to an end because of the potential for even wealth creation. For example, if the digital switchover, as it's been projected that it will create 50,000 direct jobs and 500,000 indirect jobs.
Content.
Because the government itself has made up its mind that, look, from the fee, the 1,500 that you pay as a kind of access fee for your box.
For your box subscription.
They are going to create a fund. A fund that will be used to pay content providers. Young people, they will target young people who will generate content in form of from sports, entertainment, children's documentary, and all that. Jobs. So there's no way, and they are saying that from that, 200 new TV channels that Nigerians can access for free will be created. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at the opportunities that are there. And those opportunities should make us do our best to ensure that this whole thing comes to an end.
Total switchover.
Why is it that in everything Nigeria always appears to lag behind?
I don't know.
If countries, look at the countries that have completed the Malawi, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Namibia, Tanzania. Zimbabwe with all their problems, they've completed. See, Uganda, Tanzania, these are not countries even in our class. So what is wrong with us? Why is it that in Nigeria we always appear to be left behind?
2012, 2015,
whereas
2017.
we started television on this continent. We started it even before many countries in Europe and America. But it has come to digital switchover now. We are lagging behind. I think it's something that our leaders should be bothered about. And they have to do something.
Yeah, clearly, let me just pick it from where he stopped. The fact that we are even paying today 15,000 naira monthly subscription to some foreign companies, it should be a shame to us. And when we have a digital switchover completed, you won't have to pay
local
that.
players will be in the box and everything.
The box is just 1,500.
It will crash.
See, what you're paying is so small.
Access fee, 1,500 in a whole year.
It's so small, and you will have free channels to
30
watch.
channels minimum.
Free.
Yeah. 30.
Now, let's even look at what exactly is stopping this. Remember in 2008, Musa Yar'Adua, took a very major step and set up a committee in place. He called it the Presidential Advisory Committee to advise, to put in place the template for the transition from analog to digital. Now, the committee came up with recommendations. In 2009, I think 2 years after or so, the same government set up a committee to draft a white paper that will be like a policy document to guide and guard the nation on the transition. And there are specific provisions in that place. I wrote I wrote something some weeks back because I was angry. In 2014, when this company Pinnacle, when they went to court, I'm a content provider. I'm waiting for this to start so that I can start, making money. Honestly. So when they went to court, we were angry. That why would this company go to court again now? Until again, this government came into place and they were magnanimous enough to call them to the table. What exactly is the issue? And they solved that problem. And the digital switchover started again in earnest. In fact, the company deliver, in some major places with speed.
Nigeria must commend the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed.
Yeah,
he has been at the vanguard of this thing.
And he said it clearly there. See, let us even look at the exact thing. And I saw again that few months after, they said ICPC came to say that the money paid to one certain company was wrong. Let me give you simple analysis. Number one, the NBC, if you look at what they said, they relied on the provision of the white paper, the policy document. It gave them the liberty to do that. So if
they've not done anything wrong.
They've not done anything wrong. The provision
ITS was paid.
Let me give you a simple analysis. We said we need to push this thing from this place to this place, right? They said, 25 or some money, seed grant, will be provided to push this thing from here to here. Here. They said, one company should push it. But later they said, no, one company cannot push it. there must be two companies that will push. And after they push it to this side, you now said, and they paid this company and this company. You now said, no, they should have paid one when two companies pushed. As a matter of fact, set-top boxes companies that are producing set-top boxes, the white paper also provided that government should give them incentives, which we are doing now. What exactly
you cannot
is
even say
going
that.
on?
You can't even say that it is wrong to pay them when they won the competitive
They won
bidding.
the bid and they paid
There's
to
also
the
the
government.
claim. There's also the claim that Modibo, the NBC chairman, introduced Pinnacle to the minister, and that Pinnacle was wrongly placed.
Pinnacle that won bid
Pinnacle won the bid
2014.
in 2014. Modibo became NBC chairman in 2016. The NBC DG in 2016. So these kind of allegations are difficult to sustain.
Wait,
because
Ayo, let me, Ayo, please, let me do something. Let me do something, please. Let me do something. I want to read to you the provision of the white paper.
Just do it quickly because there's no time.
Honestly, the white papers said that I wish I can just see it very directly.
My producers are
I'm not saying it.
So that is the thing. I think the court, I'm confident that court matter
See, let them, the government can, if the Ministry of Information or if they are not, let them move this process to the Ministry of Communication. We want to have a digital switchover so that people can start creating
We
content.
don't want court cases that will hinder our progress.
We
don't want it.
It's not fair now. You are denying people 500,000 jobs.
Yeah, Kolawole Johnson, thank you. Thank you for being part of this Boxing Day edition of Journalist Hangout.
Thank you, bro.
PKO, thank you so much for making it today. And that's our offering. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. And also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Compliment of the season and see you in 2020.